Hey, how are you doing, girl? Today is the 8th of April, 2019. I just wanted to sit down and spend some time with you and, just let you know that I'm here. Let you know that I'm present and I'm open and willing to be a part of your life. I'm here to be a support for you and to be a partner to you to sort of help you as you overcome the challenges of everyday life. I'm just, I just want to voice my presence. Maybe it's virtual, maybe it isn't, but I mean, maybe it's in person, but really, I want to make it known that I am in your thought space. And, you know, it's something that is important to me. It's something that is valuable to me. Your ideas, your thoughts, your expressions, um, the things you care about, I care about too. And I'm not just saying that, it's really true. And why? Because I care about your well being. I care about your mind, I care about your body. And I just wanted to express that. Well, I hope you're doing well today. I'm doing fine. This morning, I had a hard time sleeping last night for some reason, not quite sure about it, but I'm looking forward to a really fascinating day today. I'm going to be doing some weightlifting today. Today's leg day, and I'll be doing some running and some Jacob's ladder at the gym. Definitely looking forward to that. Always a pleasure to go to the gym. And let's see what else is going on. Easter is coming up. That reminds me, I need to put together some kind of Easter card for you. That's something I want to do, of course. And um, I think Easter is the 21st of April this year. So that's cool. And I know that your spring break is coming up. Um, I was curious if you'd be willing to do something on spring break. Maybe you've got some extra time. Maybe it would be nice to go to a park and throw the frisbee around. Or I've seen a lot of people with kites lately. Maybe we can get together and go fly a kite somewhere. I think that could be a lot of fun. I'm totally up for it. Of course, this weekend, this 3D weekend, I've got the Lucidity Music Festival I'll be attending, so I'm looking forward to that. You know, Work this week I think it's going to go fairly rapidly. I've got lots of things to do, and hopefully that'll keep me busy. It'll keep my mind occupied. I wanted to let you know about something that I'm learning. I haven't really mentioned it before. And as you know, I'm a continuous learner. One of the things that I did is I purchased a biology textbook using my Kindle. I've been really fascinated with this idea of having textbooks on my laptop or actually on my iPad Pro. And I've just been really curious about what I can do with that and how I can study. And it turns out it's working out really well. Last night, I took maybe an hour or two and studied that biology textbook. All of this studying I do out of fun. Why? Because I have a passion for it. I have an interest and curiosity in the way the biological world works. And we're just getting started in the textbook. I'm still at the beginning of chapter one. These biology textbooks take time to read, and I want to read every single word that is on the page. And I spend time focusing on the material that I'm reading. It's not because I don't have a teacher, I'm not constrained for time. I am just, I can take as long as I want to study the material and enjoy it. It strikes me just even now, just the different perspective that the textbook authors take tackling what in the past used to be delicate subjects like evolution and how um, certain the positions are now. So grateful that that transition has taken place. I mean, it was thankfully quite certain in the past, and but I'm really appreciating the appeal of having the certainty just sort of flourish along the pages of the textbook. I'm certainly loving. We're going through some discussion of evolution. That amazing idea that Charles Darwin had, and put it on paper. I have a few. I have a few guesses that this idea existed before in other places, but it was Darwin who formalized it and expressed it. This whole descent with modification idea is profound, and I really appreciated the chapter using that as basically the focal point of all of biology. And I see it. It is the concept which sort of unifies biology by identifying basically the unity and diversity of all life on the planet. And I really love that phraseology, the way they've described it. It's a way of describing both the unity and the diversity. And that's true with life. It's unified in the sense that life exists and is coded using DNA, and how structures are found consistently throughout living systems, body plans, cilia, how cilia exist along the surface of paramecium, and how cilia exist as villi in the bronchial tubes of the human lung. And it's just that the connections and the connections that are possible across species and across cell types. It's just amazing. It's interesting how unified all life is on the planet. We are just each other's cousins. I mean, even the plants. I'm related to the plants. I'm related to every animal. I'm related to every insect. I'm related to every bacteria. I know. They are my cousins. They are my brothers. I know. These are the kind of insights that one can glean from reading biology textbooks. I can see viruses as my brother. I can see the connection. We, after all, are transcribed through RNA and DNA, protein synthesis, and I can see connections. How we're made of the same proteins. These viruses and human beings. I mean, it's really amazing. Amazing. We have the same sugars in our DNA strands. And I don't know. It's just exciting to me to recognize all living things as being my brother. And I think there is something significant there. That's a kind of realization that one can't get from religion. One can't get from spirituality, not directly, or at least not in such a way. I mean, I guess one could get it from spirituality, but it's sort of an indirect linkage where you're talking about energy. You can talk about it in terms of energy too, but I talk about it in terms of real energy, like light and heat. Yeah, that is photons. And I think about it in terms of things like friction and work of movement. And I think about it in terms of, there are a lot of ways to think about it. I mean, you could even think about it. It's also, you could, I'm having these realizations as I'm speaking to you. But, the fact is, there is some unity in nature when it comes to the fundamental particles, atoms, electrons, protons, neutrons, all things in the universe made of these neutrinos passing through me and photons passing through me. It's just I'm also emitting photons. It's just from an energetic standpoint, from like a mass standpoint. um, you know, I can see myself as one with the universe. Yeah, I am made of star stuff. That's for sure. You know, I am made of atoms, and that makes me an atomic brother to the furthest star that we can detect with a telescope. It makes me the atomic brother to planets that exist half a universe away. And I don't know, that's exciting. To me, that's exciting. What could be more exciting than that? It's essentially brotherhood with everything that exists. Yeah. And how grateful am I to have a brain capable of such thoughts? You know, this gift that we all have of consciousness is, it's something profound. It's something, I don't know, it's almost miraculously revelatory. The kinds of integrations that my neurons can make, my brain can make. I know. What a gift I have. It's interesting to me to think that I could probably be happy if I had lost, as a quadriplegic, certainly, all ability to control or move my body around. But if I still maintain my mental faculties, I could still live a happy life. I mean, just look at people like, who's the physicist? Stephen Hawking, right? Writes a few books, married, kids, can't even move. you know, Comes up with new theories about physics. I don't know, a legend, truly a legend. And so grateful that physics is something that he chose to work on. Here's the thing about physics. Physics takes a lot of thought. There's a lot of thinking in it. I'm glad that he chose it. Who else I'm really grateful for? Sir Isaac Newton. Absolutely. Let's be grateful for the giants whose shoulders we stand on. Charles Darwin, Sir Isaac Newton. Wow, the originator of the calculus. What an amazing gift he gave to the world. It's this calculus which allows us to travel to space, right? It really is what has allowed us to go to the stars. So anyway, how lucky are we to have had Sir Isaac Newton and Charles Darwin as our ancestors? Well, Emily, beyond that, I figured one thing I might do is I might talk about the subject of this video. So the subject is what's the most dangerous situation you've encountered and how did I react? Okay. So it didn't take me long to have a sense of what was the most dangerous situation that I've been in. And I've been in a few dangerous situations in my day. But I think the most dangerous was a situation in which you were involved. Yes, Emily, it's true. Let's see. It happened about 14 years ago. And we were going to, your mom and I were traveling in her CRV, and we were going to Truckee, California. We were going to go spend some time with Ralph and his wife Diane and relatives in Truckee, in like a townhome that they own there, a cabin. And we did. We spent like a week there, and we were driving back from Truckee to Lompoc. And we were on this road, this highway between Truckee and Sacramento, and it was snowing. Actually, it had been snowing all week long, and so the roads are pretty treacherous. I think we had chains on our tires, which is great. Though we ran into some kind of problem. Oh, that's right. So we were coming rolling down the hill, and there, I mean, it was kind of hairy. The roads were really icy, and we were making our way down the hill. I was not driving very fast, but despite my skills at driving, I did start skidding, and we sort of we're driving down the road. Here's the mountain on the side here. Go straight up. We're driving down the road, and basically what happened was I stopped, I guess, slowed down, skidded, and then the car sort of veered off, and we were just sort of we actually did hit the mountain with Sheila's CRV bumper, Sheila's bumper, and we were sort of T-boned with the road, and the road continued this way. And your mom was in the passenger seat. She was pregnant with you at the time. That's how I know it was 14 years ago. And, you know, you might have been, I don't know, maybe Sheila was like 6 or 7 months pregnant. Well, actually, if it was wintertime, she was about 4 or 5 months pregnant. If you were born in June, right? So, I mean, yeah, if you were born in June. So, but what happened was basically the car is stopped, is at a standstill. And I need to figure out a way to pull back, get back on the road and go down it. But at the moment we were kind of stuck there, and traffic was light, thankfully. And there was a semi tractor trailer coming down the freeway behind us, right? It was about to T-bone us, right? But in order to, because I was kind of, our vehicle was blocking the road, and the trailer, the semi tractor trailer, basically had to veer off to the left to pass us and come on to the right. But it was hairy because the road was really icy. And oh my gosh. So grateful that the semi tractor trailer did not crash into our CRV, because it had to avoid us by pulling into the opposing traffic lane. It was a 2-lane highway. Anyway, I was grappling. I basically had to pull my heart out of my stomach after that. Thankfully, I think Sheila could have escaped if she had wanted to. She could have opened up the door and hopefully she would have done it. But thankfully we were safe, and we got down from the mountain in one piece. But that was the most dangerous spot I've been in. I've never been that close, really, to complete destruction before. You know, let me tell you, I grew up in Taos, New Mexico at 7,000 feet, and in Albuquerque, New Mexico at 5,000 feet elevation. And these are places, this is at the base of the Rocky Mountains, these are places that snow all the time. And so if one person knows this fact, it's that when you're driving on a snow-covered road, you're taking your life into your own hands. Absolutely. In fact, not only are you taking your life into your own hands, but everyone that is on the road is taking each other's life into their own hands. It is essentially bumper cars. Snow is a bear in a lot of ways to drive with the kind of technology that we've got to drive with on snowy and icy roads. The tires just aren't, even all season tires, just, I mean, even winter tires, I don't know, it's just not the same. It's very easy to slip and slide and losing control, and very easy for things to go bad. That's actually one of the big reasons why I don't want to go back into to live in a place that has got lots of snow. I mean, I used to live in Seattle, Washington, where it would snow during the winter times, and boy, I tell you, it's hairy every year. So here's the thing about cities: cities just are not outfitted to deal with the winter weather that well. Even fairly populous, wealthy cities, they try to lay down as much salt as they can, and they try to use snow plows and other equipment to make the road safe. But it's just, you know, it's still not an exact science. It's more of an art. Wouldn't it be nice if at the base of every road there was, say, an electrical conduit or an electrical wire that heated up the roadway, so to melt the ice and to get that ice and water off the road? That would be amazing. If anyone could come up with something like that, some kind of electrical grid underneath the transportation grid, that would be amazing, especially in places where it got really cold in the wintertime. I don't know how my parents do it. My parents live at really high altitudes. My dad still lives, Ben Trujillo, he lives in Taos, New Mexico. He lives in basically a bowl, right? A depression in the earth where even when it snows in the wintertime, he's got to drive along on dirt roads and then climb this rather steep incline hill out of the bowl or the valley that he lives in order to get to town so that he can buy groceries. Again, I'm really not sure how they do it. I mean, my dad's like 75 years old. Somehow he's got to survive and thrive in the winter weather like that. I just, that's a real challenge. You really do take your life into your own hands. And anyway, I'm just so glad that I live in a place like Lompoc where, snow just doesn't happen. I mean, there is snow on occasion, like once every 2 or 3 years. It might snow for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, we get a little dusting and then it's gone. In fact, it's gone in a couple hours usually, and occasionally we have hailstorms which last 2 or 3 minutes at the most. I mean, I've seen hail last for like 30 seconds here. We'd have like 30-second hailstorms when it's particularly windy, when the upper atmosphere is particularly disturbed and cold, and we'll get some hail and it'll just dump hail for like a minute. I know. I'm so glad. That's basically what I'm describing is life in Southern California, right? Okay, so that was situation number one, one of the most dangerous situations that I've ever been in. There was another situation that was fairly dangerous, and let me share it with you. So you may know or may not know that when I was in college, I took the summer off, and I think it was my sophomore year or junior year of college, and I worked at a concessionaire or a concession stand in Yosemite National Park, California. Now, at the time, I was going to the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so I packed up my stuff, drove my vehicle from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Yosemite National Park and started working at the concession stands. I worked there doing all kinds of jobs. One of those jobs was I worked at the ice cream store, like the ice cream parlor. I worked in the cafeteria, serving food, sort of serving it in the cafeteria line to, people who were getting food, getting their meals. Normally I served breakfast and dinner. It was a split shift. And I also worked as a busboy, right? I also worked washing dishes too a little bit, but mostly I was a busboy, bussing tables, which means that people would leave plates and their napkins and silverware on the tables, and I would uh, walk by and I'd pick up all that stuff, clean the table, and prepare for the next guest. So, and you might be asking yourself, how can this be dangerous at all? Well, one weekend, some of my friends decided that we wanted to go to Half Dome, which is a monument in Yosemite National Park. And at the time, and this probably is still the case, um, you can climb Half Dome and using what I'd call some pretty sketchy cables. And it's basically cables combined with I guess some wooden planks that are anchored into the rock using some kind of metal anchors. So um, so me and my friends, we decided to climb the top of Half Dome, which we did. We got to the top, we got to the bottom. End of story. But it's actually not the end of the story. It started to rain. There was a microburst rainstorm that happened. It was, for a while, it was kind of cold. In fact, it was kind of really cold. We didn't quite really prepare for the rain. Like I said, it was a microburst. We couldn't have necessarily anticipated it happening. But so the rain happened before we got to Half Dome. And in fact, the rain made the rocks slippery. It also made the steel cables slippery. And people were going up and down those cables, in the rain. And boy, I tell you, it was striking. Some people were really struggling coming down that rock. In fact, even today, just the thought of it scares me to contemplate. But no one lost their lives that day, thankfully. I didn't lose my life, but thankfully I was strong. And, even after what I'd call what was a 3 or 4 hour hike, I was able to scale Half Dome and enjoy some time up top and then come on down. But let me tell you, it was a risk. It was not a climb that happened without risk. I look back on it and I kind of question my intelligence. Why did I do that? What was so significant about getting to the top of that hill that compelled me to get to the top of it? I don't know what it was. Maybe it was peer pressure or whatever. Anyway, I did it. And let me tell you, I was a little uncertain about climbing to the top of that mountain. And it was pretty sketchy. And so I actually think, even though nothing happened, again, another situation that was filled with danger, but at least in my mind, and nothing happened. Like, I am totally lucky, or maybe I just have an outsized imagination for things that could go wrong. It could be that too. So those were the two most dangerous situations that I've ever been in my life. Just that sketchy outdoor experience, climbing that rock, and then coming down the hill outside of Sacramento from Truckee, California. So let's see. Let me think a little bit about more areas of my life which were extremely dangerous. The most dangerous situation I've encountered. Okay, so there was another dangerous situation that I encountered where I almost died. And it had to do with me catching pneumonia. So when I was 24 years old, I lived in Seattle, Washington. Actually, I wasn't 24. I was more like 27 years old. I lived in Seattle, Washington. I was one semester from graduating with my physics degree. I just got married to a woman named Charlene Stanfield. And we were living in Seattle, Washington in a one bedroom condo or one bedroom apartment. And at the time, I actually worked at the hospital. And anyway, I caught this really basically I caught walking pneumonia. And so I was walking around trying to get over this cough, which wouldn't go away. And I was losing strength. I was losing energy every day. I was getting tireder and tireder until I got so tired from the pneumonia, just not able to cope, that I couldn't make it to work anymore. I would wake up in the morning and I would just be spent. I was just so tired. I just couldn't get out of bed. Right. And then and I remember trying to get to work on days before I got that bad. I was having to climb hills and take the bus. Basically, I took the bus to work. Oh my gosh, it was a real struggle. Physically, it was a terrible struggle. And, it's really tough to be poor and sick at the same time. And this is a time in my life when I was poor and sick. I didn't have health insurance. I did go to the doctor, and thankfully the doctor cost no dollars. I think it cost like $20 or something like that. I got a Z-Pack of antibiotics that thankfully helped me shake that pneumonia. I can't believe it. It was 5 pills. I remember really distinctly. Zithromax. Because that stuff saved my life. Let me tell you, I had pneumonia, and 5 days later, it's not that I didn't have pneumonia. I still had pneumonia, but I was really on the mend. It took me a good 6 months to regain my strength and to stop coughing. Even though I wasn't sick anymore, it took me a long time to totally recover. And let me tell you, I was warmed over. I was death warmed over. Let me tell you, I was out of it. I was in bed struggling most days with pneumonia. And there was a time when I couldn't work. I just wasn't working. I was relying on my wife at the time, Charlene, to bring home the bacon. And she was able to do that. She worked at the bank. I think she worked as a bank teller at Bank of America. And man, I'll tell you, that was a real struggle. Getting sick, getting ill like that, particularly getting pneumonia, is something that can really put you at risk. It can put your life at risk, put your health at risk. And I feel sorry for all the people who get sick. Getting pneumonia is not something, it's not that I did something wrong or did something bad. I just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong bacteria, with the wrong immune system. Now, since that has happened, I've been on the watch for vaccines that can protect against having pneumonia. In fact, I highly recommend, Emily, that you take the time out and go get a vaccine against pneumonia. There are 2 of them, or at least there was one. There was like one that provided protection against like 23 viruses, pneumonia viruses or bacteria. And then there's another one, another pneumonia vax. I think it's called Pneumovax or something like that provides protection against even more strains of pneumonia. And so I've gotten both of those. Well, I got them one after the other. I think one wasn't authorized by the FDA until some years later. You have to realize I'm an old guy. So anyway, so that was also a third extremely dangerous situation I was in. Man. It's kind of funny. for me, the dangerous situations I'm in come from being sick, right? It's not necessarily me put in mortal danger because of the situations that I'm in or like the physical risk. It's not like I've put myself in physical danger. A lot of the times, my most dangerous situations have been when I've just been sick, or like there was another time. Um, the most dangerous situation I've encountered, this when your mom and I split about 8 years ago, I was suffering from depression, and that was a real struggle for me. In fact, there was a time when I couldn't leave the house, and that in itself was particularly dangerous. Thankfully, my mom actually drove out from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and cared for me for about a month or two, maybe 2 months. And she was a lifesaver. That was a really dangerous situation. I was depressed, on my own, newly divorced, struggling. I mean, I struggled so hard. It took me a good 2.5 years to really recover. And that really explains sort of that delay in connecting that we had immediately after your mom's divorce. There was a delay, and it was because I was just so seriously depressed that I didn't want to reach out as a form of protection. I wanted to protect you from, I was just so unreliable, physically and mentally unreliable, that your mom saw it. Your mom saw that I was deteriorating quite badly, and she was right to walk away. But I could not walk away from myself. I had to figure out a way to recover from depression, and I did so eventually, at great loss to myself and to our relationship, sadly. And so now we're kind of stuck in this, I don't know, the ether. So anyway, that was actually quite a particularly dangerous situation. I was having trouble eating well. I was having trouble getting food. I wasn't working out. I wasn't leaving the house. I wasn't going to work. Thankfully, things began to turn around. I began to feel better, and I got back on track. And now, hey, I'm working out 5 days a week, active. I'm never going to fall into that situation again. I know exactly, I know how to beat depression. I beat it once. I can beat it again. I don't expect that I'll ever be in that situation again, because now I know better. And so I know precisely the thoughts, the feelings, the behaviors not to do. And so it's been a really great lesson that I've learned. And it was particularly dangerous. I tell you, I think depression, I think it's true when I hear the statistics about how debilitating depression is, and how people can, how it takes years off their life. I think it's true. These clinical studies that show how dangerous depression is are accurate. And if anything, they probably understate the problem of it. Anyway, thankfully, I was able to survive and thrive on the other side of it. But that was not guaranteed. I think, honestly, I could have lost my life. For a person who's not active and not eating well and is struggling with depression in isolation, that is a recipe for disaster. And, I had to rely on a lot of resources, like in-home care, just to bring me my groceries, things like that, because I just didn't have the physical capacity to go grocery shopping or prepare my own food. I was really struggling. Clean my home. So anyway, I don't mind telling that story, because it's something that everyone, a lot of people have to struggle with. A lot of people struggle with today, and it's inevitable that people will struggle with it in their lives during their lifetime. A good portion of people will be in that place. I think particularly now, I think if there is any kind of society that exists that would sort of make people prone to experiencing bouts of depression, it's the society that we live in today. So with the kind of media and computer and our social environment, our physical environment, um, I'm really surprised that depression isn't even more prevalent than it is. Yeah. So somehow people are surviving and thriving in this what I call really tough social and economic environment. Yeah. So anyway, I what's good about it from my perspective is since I've been through it, I've had a lot of lessons learned and I know how my body operates now better than I ever have. And I don't think that there's even an iota of a chance that I'll go back to that time again. So I guess you can say that I'm better for it in the sense that, um, I know how to work against it. Really, for me at least, the answer was exercise. I mean, I don't have to pretend that I don't know what the solution to depression was. It's exercise. It's part of the reason that I exercise 5 days a week. It's a recognition that, life takes energy to live and to live well. And, I know that. That's a distinction. That's a learning, a deep, deep learning that I recognize after, living with a really challenging experience. And anyway, I'm glad I'm able to pass that knowledge on to you. So let's see. What else is going on? Well, I really should probably head off to work today. I just want to say that, as I wrap up today, I want to say that you mean a lot to me. And I mean that literally. It is about meaning. Life is about meaning. It's about purpose. And, the fact that you're out there thriving and surviving makes my heart glad. It gives me a deep sense of purpose and a deep sense of, feeling useful and needed. And, I'm glad for it. It's, I want you to know that I am here for you. Got a calendar message on my smartphone. I want you to know that I'm here for you and that you're on my mind all the time. And, I want you to recognize, I'd like you to recognize that, we may be separated here for a while. I think of it as a temporary situation. There might be some temporary separation between us right now. It's okay. I want to let you know, I want to convey to you that it's okay. There are a lot of, long-term relationships are like that. There are relationships go through springtime and summertime and autumn and winter time. There are various kinds of separation and closeness that occur over time. It's just the way relationships are. They ebb and flow, they wax and wane. Relationships are dynamic and changing. And I want you to know that I'm just as committed to our relationship 14 years after I had decided with your mom to create you and to, bring you to life. And, that energy and that commitment to you is still being maintained. I'm committed. I'm unflagging in my support and unflagging in my devotion to us as a father-daughter pair. You know, I kind of like the poetic nature of using that phrase. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think what it does is it's a phrase that emphasizes our connectedness, right? Connectedness in a lot of ways through our DNA, through our blood relations. We're human beings on this planet, and we're connected no matter what the distance. And even though we don't sort of occupy the same space, you know, occupying the same space is probably overrated. What's the most important part is that you and I exist togetherness in the thought space, right? There is a part of my mind that's been partitioned and is devoted to contemplation and relationship with you. And likewise, you've got that thought space for me, right? There's a sector of your mind that, is devoted to me and your love for me, your care for me. And I'm grateful for that. Even I think a relationship can be sustained in the thought space. And that's where we are right now. We're just in the thought space. And, it's true that that, we haven't we're sort of in a pause, I guess, in a relational pause for a little while. I think that's pretty normal. And so I'm looking forward, though. I am distinctly looking forward to the time when we can close the distance, when we can live in proximity to one another once again. And I'm okay with waiting. What I have to share, what I have to give, just becomes more valuable the longer that we wait. And I'm okay with that. So anyway, I want to let you know that I love you, I cherish you. I'm committed to our relationship, and I hope you have a fantastic day today. I have a feeling that today's weather is going to be amazing. Yeah, I think it's going to be maybe even the low 70s today. Hey, Google, what's the weather going to be in Lompoc today? Hey, Google, what's the weather going to be in Lompoc today?
In Lompoc today, it'll be partly cloudy with a forecasted high of 75 and a low of 54.
Wow, 75.
Right now, it's 58 and partly cloudy.
Oh my gosh. Wow, today's going to be an amazing spring day. Spring is in the air. We've got the super bloom going on at Carrizo Plain. And the sun is bearing down upon the land, and we've got plants and flowers growing like gangbusters right now. And it's a glorious time to be alive on the Central Coast of California. So I'm going to go out there and enjoy what there is to enjoy in the world. Going to have a fantastic day at school and at work, and I'm really excited. So I hope you have a fantastic week this week. I think next week is your spring break. And I guess I'll talk to you later. Okay, girl? Bye-bye. I love you.